This video is in response to Ayn Rand, an Insignificant Philosopher video posted. I want to first outline the argument as it was posted. Basically, the issue is significance, and then there are two ways to measure, or standards, that are set forth in the video. And I'm going to try to show that both of these standards are actually invalid when determining someone or something's significance. I'm going to mention how significance doesn't come from inside your head, from the mind, how it's objective, significance is objective. I'm going to mention a term called social metaphysics, which that's Rand's term for when a bunch of people get together and if they all think the same, that's reality. It's just a group think, a Gallup poll. First off, what was mentioned is that Rand doesn't share the popularity, the existence in other people's minds, enough minds to be significant. Well, that's easily refuted when you look at how she has sold over 25 million copies of her books and continues to sell over 400,000 books per year, 2 decades after her death. But that standard, by the way, of popularity meaning significance, is faulty. But even if it were to apply to Rand, it is still, a premise is wrong. You may be having the actual argument is invalid. You can't move from popularity to significance. I'm going to quote from a book. It's too hard to, okay. It's the Ayn Rand Lexicon. I lost my cover. I'm going to quote under a section of epistemology by Ayn Rand. There'll be breaks. I won't mention the breaks for time. Man is neither infallible nor omniscient. If he were, a discipline such as epistemology, the theory of knowledge, would not be necessary nor possible. His knowledge would be automatic, unquestionable, and total. Man has to acquire knowledge by his own effort, which he may exercise or not, and by a process of reason which he may apply correctly or not. Nature gives him no automatic guarantee of his mental efficacy. He is capable of error, of evasion, of psychological distortion. He needs a method of cognition, which he himself has to discover. He must discover how to use his rational faculty, instead of, say, the rational faculties of others. How to validate his conclusions, how to distinguish truth from falsehood, how to set the criteria of what he may accept as knowledge, rather than, say, public opinion. 2 questions are involved in his every conclusion: conviction, decision, choice, or claim. What do I know, and how do I know it? It is the task of epistemology to provide the answer to the how, which then enables the special sciences to provide the answers to the what. In the history of philosophy, with some very rare exceptions, epistemological theories have consisted of attempts to escape one or the other of the 2 fundamental questions which cannot be escaped. Men have been taught either that knowledge is impossible, skepticism, or that it is available without effort, mysticism. And we'll come back to this point. There'll be 2 kinds of mysticism, where you don't use effort, but you attain knowledge. These 2 positions appear to be antagonists, but are in fact 2 variants on the same theme, 2 sides of the same fraudulent coin: the attempt to escape the responsibility of rational cognition and the absolutism of reality, the attempt to assert the primacy of consciousness over existence. And we'll come back to the primacy of consciousness. First, let's go to the 2 forms of mysticism. Mystics of spirit and mystics of muscle. Now, mystics of spirit, they're religionists. Mystics of muscle are more materialist, group thinkers, Gallup pollers. They go with the crowd. The crowd is basically the end-all. As the products of the split between man, soul, and body, there are 2 kinds of teachers of the morality of death: the mystics of spirit and the mystics of muscle, whom you call the spiritualists and the materialists. Those who believe in consciousness without existence, and those who believe in existence without consciousness. The good, say the mystics of spirit, is God, a being whose only definition is that he's beyond the power to conceive. The good, say the mystics of muscle, is society, a thing which they define as an organism that possesses no physical form, a super being, embodied in no one in particular and everyone in general, except yourself. Man's mind, say the mystics of spirit, must be subordinated to the will of God. Man's mind, say the mystics of muscle, must be subordinated to the will of society. Man's standard of value, say the mystics of spirit, is the pleasure of God, and must be accepted on faith. Man's standard of value, say the mystics of muscle, is the pleasure of society, whose standards are beyond man's right of judgment, and must be obeyed as a primary absolute. A society could be a philosophical society, that you have to obey who they let in their group or not, to be significant. Now, what's this primacy of consciousness? Primacy of existence versus primacy of consciousness. The basic metaphysical issue that lies at the root of any system of philosophy is the primacy of existence or the primacy of consciousness. The primacy of existence, of reality, is the axiom that existence exists, i.e. that the universe exists independent of consciousness, of any consciousness, that things are what they are, that they possess a specific nature and identity. The epistemological corollary is the axiom that consciousness is the faculty of perceiving that which exists, and that man gains knowledge of reality by looking outward. Now, the rejection of these axioms represents a reversal, the primacy of consciousness, the notion that the universe has no independent existence, that it is a product of a consciousness, either human or divine or both, or say a group of philosophers in an ivory tower, what they think, what their opinion is. The epistemological corollary is the notion that man gains knowledge of reality by looking inward, either at his own consciousness or at the revelations it receives from another superior consciousness. And as I had mentioned before, society, a superior being. So what we see is 2 points. One is whether popularity, general popularity, equates with immortality, and even if it did, Rand fits the bill as being immortal. If anyone can be shown to be immortal, somebody selling 400,000 copies a year, 20 years after her death, or more than 2 decades after her death, is immortalized. And second, the very idea of looking into the minds of others to find reality, to say, well, if Rand isn't embedded in this group or society, then she's not significant. Thank you.